far side, so if you're watching the Jumbotron to your right, in lane number 11, you have Heather Gillespie. Lane 10, Teresa Barnett, Candace Hester, Jasmine Deaver, Rika Diedrich, Thurder Erla Algendaughter, Gretchen Gilberger, Azadeh Boroman, Shayna Alverson, and Deborah Gordner Carson right in front of me here in lane number 2. In 30 seconds, the even numbers will throw first. In 30 seconds, the even numbers throw first. Odd numbers, step out of your GHDs. Even numbers, stay in your GHDs. The air horn will signal the start and signify the end. Even numbers first, odd numbers out of your GHDs. 10 seconds. Starting at the top, even number athletes at the top. 3, 2, 1. Seconds. 3, 2, 1. Switch. Odd numbers in 30 seconds. Stand by.
Give a mic check. Hello, hello, check.
All right, we got the ladies setting up right here. All right, we're setting up. We have the women to the field now. We're on event 5, heat number 1. We've got the ball toss, sort of similar to the softball toss last year. They've got 20 seconds in a GHD sit-up fashion to reach back, grab that ball, throw as many as they can, as far as they can, in a 20-second cap. New interesting toss we got here.
Yeah, totally different than anything we've seen in the past. They're using the GHD, the glute ham developer, often used in CrossFit workouts as a sit-up, as an abdominal exercise, and now tossing in the med ball and throwing it for distance. A whole new game here.
We see that med ball you're talking about. It's a 2-pound medicine ball. We have these unique contraptions built by Rogue Fitness, of course, to where it's going to shuttle the balls down. So it's kind of like a 3-point shootout, but a max distance ball toss. And the ladies are getting ready here. A lot of technique needs to come into play for this type of
Definitely.
event.
You can see as some of the athletes are setting up, positioning themselves in the right place on the glute ham developer. On the glute ham developer is it's critical. So a lot of them they know this from doing sit-ups. They know how to put themselves with their knees slightly bent. They're able to activate with their hip flexors and not pull on their back while they do this.
And they're off, reaching back to grab the balls. There's a technique here. Do I throw as many as I can, or do I throw it as far as I can? You got to think, throwing it as far as you can is going to take a little bit more time, but here you go. You got some unique distances right here.
The release is really going to be the part that matters most. You can see some of the athletes are throwing a line drive, and it kind of kills it right there. I think getting the perfect arc here is going to be the best option for max distance, and I don't know how much these athletes have got to practice this event. They might have just really got thrown into it.
And then what happens here, the women go from 20 seconds max effort for ball toss straight into what we see event 6. Should be the track triplet. They've got about 1 minute transition time. We're going to have 3 rounds, 8 split snatches at 95 or 75 pounds, 7 bar muscle ups, a unique thing. We have yet to see this in any type of competition. And then a 400-meter run. This kind of looks a lot like Helen, where it's at 3 rounds, the running, the kettlebell swings, and pull-ups.
Exactly.
But it's CrossFit Games, so we got to amp it up a little bit.
Exactly. Taking the concepts of the the run, kind of that conditioning aspect, the monostructural movement as we refer to it, the lifting aspect, the weightlifting aspect with the bar or with the barbell snatches, and then finally the gymnastics element with those bar muscle ups, and the coupling of those three.
And the women are off. This is now event 6, heat 1, starting with a 400-meter run. Then they'll move into the split snatches and the 7-bar muscle ups. You got to think, we have a lot of different athletes and athletic backgrounds. We see gymnastics, weightlifting, endurance events. We got it all in this one.
This is definitely a mix of experienced athletes. Deborah Cordner-Carson, definitely one of the experienced track athletes. Looks like towards the front of the pack. A lot of athletes with gymnastics experience. That's going to help them on the bar muscle ups with a unique kipping technique that most gymnasts have in their arsenal.
And now we get to the split snatch. You actually have to split your feet when you throw that barbell over your head from ground to over your head. But not only do you got to split your feet, you've got to alternate the feet as well.
Exactly. A little bit of a technique and planning issue that has to happen here. For athletes unfamiliar with the split snatch, it takes a little bit of coordination to stay on which leg, reset the feet with the barbell still overhead and in control. Can't put it down until your feet are squared back underneath your hips.
You see right now, Shayna Alverson's in the lead. Going to the bar, here we see those bar muscle ups. Requires a really big kick, but Deborah Carson looking very smooth up there.
And if you watch as Deborah was doing her kip, she was utilizing that gymnastics kip where her toes almost go up towards the bar first, and then with that hip extension, sends her up above the bar at full extension, almost right without any press out of her arms at all. Some athletes having to do more of a dip than others depending on the technique that they're using.
You see, we have different types of techniques, just like you were speaking to, that big, broad, giant kip. And there we go. We got our first athlete back to the track. Starting round 2, we've got that 400-meter run again. You got to think legs might be a little tired, arms a little heavy. We got to get to that run. You still need to keep things in line, you think, for that 400 on that second round.
Definitely. The 400-meter, very oftentimes seen in most benchmark workouts for CrossFitters. It's a familiar distance if you're new to CrossFit. This is something that they run in warm-ups, in cool-downs, for sprints, for long endurance workouts. Most of them should know how to pace it pretty well for an event like this.
And it looks like your leader right there. We have Candace Hester from CrossFit Oakland. She's looking pretty smooth. I think she has a bit of a background with rugby, it seems. So this type of grunt work isn't the first time she's been experiencing something like this.
Definitely an experienced athlete for sure.
And here she comes, slowing up around the straightaway. Coming to that final turn, you got to think, on that track, it seems to go so quickly after that first turn, and now I'm back on that straightaway, but it seems that first straightaway, it tends to get longer as you get closer to the next side. Just a never-ending type run, and then that last turn, when is this going to end? Just running in circles. Candace Hester still looking very strong right there. Coming into the final turn, she's got 8 split snatches ahead of her. Again, that's 75 pounds. And what you said earlier is that some people do split snatch.
Right, it's a common technique for, typically you see it as weights get heavier. Athletes that aren't as comfortable getting into the low position of the overhead squat to catch that Olympic lift tend to split their legs in order to get into the bar. 75 pounds. Lightweight, considering most of these athletes' 1-rep maxes are well over 100 pounds, almost approaching 180 and maybe even 200 for some athletes. Candace, definitely one of the stronger athletes. But after that run, that's definitely still a task.
It seems the rest of the field starting to come in. We saw Deborah, we saw Candace, Shayna. And not just a split, they've done the split snatch before, but switching the feet, it's a lightweight, but they might not be used to either throwing that right foot forward or that left foot forward. And they got the 8, but it seems like it's light. But after that first round, I think the athletes are getting a little surprised that it's starting to get heavy. They're starting to get a little tired. And then you see right here, chalking up, trying to get prepped for these bar muscle ups. There we have Candace Hester and Deborah Carson going head-to-head again. Deborah there with the long black leg sleeve. Candace there to her left.
You can see as Deborah comes above the bar, she almost has no press out left to do with her arms, just utilizing that huge gymnastics kip, especially on that last one. Candace coming over a little bit lower and having to press out with her arms. That could end up fatiguing her a little bit more as time goes on.
She had that press up, but she does 7 in a row, and she's off for her last 400-meter run. It's starting around 3. Candace looks strong, a little tired, but she just keeps going.
This wasn't the first run they've had to do this week. Let's remember that as well.
Yeah, the legs might be a little fatigued. I don't know if you guys were watching earlier, but an 11K hill run might have sat their legs a little bit for these 400-meter runs.
They did have a day of rest, but doesn't necessarily recover from it.
It looks right there. We got about a 3-way tie for second. And you got to think, how are you going to pace this? Am I going to try to sprint the last 400 to get to my bar quicker? Do I back off a little bit? How are these athletes trying to pace this, or is it the end and we're just trying to get home?
I think starting the day off right now, this is the first really traditional CrossFit workout that we've seen yet. There's been a lot of beatings that have come at them, a lot of tasks, but this is really the first styled just like the workouts of the day that you would show up for at your CrossFit gym. And I think a lot of athletes are really excited to get into that more traditional style, but knowing what they have to come, I think they're probably trying to play it pretty smart. And
there you have your leader in Heat 1, Candace Hester. Followed behind her, we've got Deborah Carson, Gretchen Kittelberger. You got to think, they're coming off the last run. They've got 8 snatches to go, but they also have the 7-bar muscle-ups. Is that grip going to play a factor in the end of this workout? I would say definitely at this point. They're coming up on the last round. They're going to start to feel that grip. Most athletes at this point are probably utilizing a hook grip with their hands when they're grabbing onto the barbell for the snatches, wrapping their thumb around the bar and then their fingers over that thumb to really lock themselves onto the bar and hopefully use less of their grip strength, saving the bar muscles. And there you see Deborah comes in and passes Candace around the stretch. They're both coming to the snatches. We've got a race here. Candace seems to her bar first. No, that's Deborah. Here we go. 8 split snatches. Can Deborah pass her at the end? But we know Candace did the last 7-bar muscle-ups unbroken where Deborah had to break. These athletes need to realize it is Heat 1. They've got 3 more heats behind them, so even though they're in the lead, they're racing about 36 more competitors. Exactly, and knowing that, these athletes are really going all out. They've got to bring themselves back up. The sooner they can get into those later heats for themselves, the better. And then we have Deborah Carson first off the snatch. She's coming to the bar. Candace right behind her. Can she string them together? I wonder if Candace Hester is going to put 7 together. Can Deborah put the 7 that she didn't do on the last round? Deborah 1 rep ahead of her. Candace is catching up. Deborah's trying to string them together. She knows Candace is going to go for it. She drops off the bar. Here comes Candace Hester. She's struggling. She knows she had to get these reps right here. She comes off the bar. Deborah, former track athlete, really might be planning on making it up on the run. Didn't want to make a slip on the bar and miss a rep with the bar muscle-ups. Maybe played it smart there and figured she could catch Candace on the run. And there we've got our last run, 400 meters. As they enter the second turn on this round. And there you have Deborah Carson passing Candace Hester. It's a dogfight to the finish. She's a former track star. She knows what she's doing. This is familiar territory. Definitely. Look at her striding out. And you know it, just like we said, 3 more heats behind us. She knows she might be having the lead by a long shot here, but she has to compete. We got 36 more women coming. She's got to finish strong, dig deep. Every second's going to count.
Deborah is racing the clock right now. She's not racing Candace anymore. I think she used Candace as kind of someone to time off of, and now it's her against the clock trying to get herself the best time possible, hopefully to move her up into a later heat for the next event.
And it's just nothing like seeing a 400-meter run at the end of the workout. There's nothing special, that no technique. It's just how hard can you push, how much heart can you got.
All
Exactly.
hard right now.
We have Deborah Carson coming in. Final stretch right here. Last part of the run. You still have ladies on the snatch bar as Deborah's finishing. She'll be your first place winner for Heat 1, and there you go. Deborah Carson first. And it's Candace Hester coming in second. You know she was working for it. She must have gave it all in the beginning, knowing that Deborah had that good kick on that last 400 meter.
These athletes have done an incredible job, especially when we remember what they've already had to put in earlier in the week and the amount of hills they had to endure and the run hike that they had already put under themselves. So it's definitely not just a couple of 400 meters at the end.
And there you go, a classic scene. You know these athletes are giving it all. They look so tired, so beat up. But you got to imagine, these are the 45 fittest women in the world. And look what a little triplet on a track did to them.
Definitely, and that's just, it's tough to really weigh in on it until you actually feel it yourself. And if we were out there right now getting lapped by them, I think it'd be a little bit easier to tell. But these girls are going all out. They're collapsing in their puddle of sweat, but they're going to be up again in no time, walking around ready for the next one.
You see Gretchen Tilburg coming in to finish.
Another gymnast probably had no problem there with the bar muscle ups and made up some time, I'm sure, there.
And as we're looking at the event, you see a track component, and you see a gymnastics component, and a weightlifting component. And with the things that we've seen recently, people specialize in these things. But now we take an athlete who has to put them all together and still perform at a high level.
Classic CrossFit there, putting those three elements together and demanding the athletes to perform at a high level in all three.
And then we see that classic CrossFit post-workout pose, right? On your back, breathing heavily, just wondering what just happened to me. You know, was it a car wreck or was it an event? I'm not sure. Although Deborah looks good, she looks like, hey, let's do it again.
Ready
I'm ready
for the next one.
Athletes still coming in, finishing strong. Again, whether you're first or you're last in this event, we still have more heats to go. This is just Heat 1. We've been through Event 5. We're now on Event 6. We got 3 more heats.
Seconds, folks. 20 seconds, Rose. 13-minute cap. 13-minute cap on this.
And there you see, this is Event 5, Heat 1, the ball toss. And you see those things shuttling down. It's a 2-pound ball, throwing for speed, throwing for distance. So, ladies, this is what they started with, 20 seconds of all-out tossing.
Using those hips and abdominals, and then now, after they've been taxed, they're asked to throw weight overhead in the barbell snatch.
You said hips and abdominals, and it goes right back to hips and abdominals on the split snatch. You've got bar muscle ups.
Again, using the hips there, athletes stabilizing themselves with that gymnastics kip. Just really taxing the whole body through these moves.
And there's all the athletes together and then working on those 400-meter runs. You see Azadeh Boroman, she's in the first heat. She was one of the favorites going into this, but you saw the first 4 events shotgunned all of our top competitors all across the leaderboard, and now we're here. We're back at the Home Depot Center, and this is where you see on that coming in from the 3rd run where Deborah passed Candace and then did the split snatches, and then they went head-to-head on these bar muscle-ups, knowing full well that Candace is trying to get 7, Hester's coming off, and there you go, Deborah Carson passing her, and this is just when she put on the jets, finished strong, taking first place in this heat.